Hey, Susan. Hey, let's straighten this a little bit. Susan Lazar Hart here, talking with you, playing with you from my office in Montreal. So great to be live with you here, especially because this is my jam: relationships with others, relationships with the planet, relationships with you. And this month, it's all about relationships. And my question for you today is, are you willing to love yourself first? Right? Are you willing to love yourself first? Now, you might think this is a crazy topic. Susan, of course I love myself. Don't be silly. Or no, I'll never love myself. I'll never love myself again. Don't tell me what it's all about. Okay, I don't know why I'm channeling that song, but here we go. So the truth is, we're not taught to show that we love ourselves first. We're born that way because like we're born, we come out and we're like, ooh, my toes, I'm gonna touch my toes and taste my toes. Ooh, look at my poop, I love my poop. Like, oh yeah, we discover our bodies, we start falling in love with ourselves, and then in comes the person who is responsible for feeding us, taking care of us, clothing us, whatever that is, and we start to buy into their judgments of us as true and real. Like, how many of you were ever told you're too sensitive, you're too much, you're too fat, smart, skinny, whatever that is? And really, the truth is, what they're saying is, I'm so excited. I'm going to take these off because I'm making noise. By what, by you not being what they thought you would be for them, you're not making them happy. And so they slowly start to withdraw their love for you unless you do what they're asking you to do by approving of their judgments of you. I know it sounds a little crazy, right? So here's the truth. Those are just stories. They're just beliefs. They're the judgments you bought as true and real. And what we're going to do and play with this Monday's motivational, transformational moment is shift and change all that by asking you this question. And I'm going to be giving you some tools, as I always do. But are you willing to love yourself first? Now, if you haven't met me before, Susan Lazar Hart, the congruency coach for creatives, for seekers, for those of you asking for more in your life, you're loving, you're living, in creating a life that you love. So if you're willing to love yourself first, and notice I say willing, you've got to know who you are. Oh, I've got some thumbs up. Hey, yeah, as this is live, come on in, tell us where you're from, watching this later, hashtag replay. So when I say you've got to get to know who you are, that means letting go of the wounds beyond the facade that says, I'm okay, I'm all right if nobody loves me, or it's okay, I'm never going to find somebody to love me, or I did find that, hey, Rebecca, I did find that love once, but that's all I need, or I'll never find it, or how come I'm taking care of loving everyone else and there's no one to take care or love me? Ouch, that's definitely ringing for somebody here. Yeah. So most of us were brought up behind the facade of if I just look hard enough, I'll know I'll find somebody who will complete me. Remember that Tom Cruise ending in the movie where she says, you complete me, or he says, you complete me, and the movie, and then it's the end? Well, that's because there's nowhere to go from that. If that's your point of view, that there's somebody out there to complete you, and you spend your life looking for that. Notice I say spend, because we all have X amount of days in this one true precious life. How are you investing in yours, right? The truth is, behind that facade, generally there's an emptiness, a loss of meaning, a discontent, a disconnection from our own inner beauty, from that spark that came here to choose this body for this earth school experience called you, right? Now, I spent a lot of my life behind that facade because it was always puzzling to me. How come I just don't fit in, right? I don't fit in. I'm doing the best I can. I just don't fit in. And, if that's true for you, raise your hand, right? How many of you have always known you were different and you kept trying to fit in, right? Trying to figure out, why am I not good enough? Well, It could be your grades, your body, your vocation. I mean, I thought I was supposed to have one vocation. I spent years thinking there was something wrong with me when I was like, oh, I'm going to be a potter. Now I'm going to be a jeweler. Oh, I'm a painter. I'm a mom. I'm a speaker. I'm a writer. I'm a whatever it is that I'm choosing to be in this 10 seconds and creates greater and greater. And the truth is, everything I put my fingers into or my energy into always worked out far greater than I ever thought, right? So what I discovered is, as in this voyage of, well, if everything that I'm creating is bringing me joy, but it's not bringing me joy because I'm trying to fit in with what other people, see how that's, you fall out of love with you so big, so bad, right? Well, when I finally said enough, what I discovered is we were all entrained to listen to those judges from birth. And it's only through deep healing and transformational work that I've done over the years that I've learned that for every judgment I have of me, there's a voice, there's a sage. For every judge on this shoulder, there's a sage asking me, is this really true? We're just not taught to listen to that voice over here, asking, is this true? And if it's true, to whose benefit is it true? Because if you're not benefiting from the voices you hear, who are you creating your life and who are you loving your life for, right? So I chose to love myself enough to stop holding on to those voices in my head and let go of whatever wasn't healthy for me. And by healthy, I mean breeding a nurturing foundation to create and grow from. And this meant people, jobs, my own beliefs and habits, anything that was keeping me small. Now, my judgment over here said, oh, you're being disloyal, or are you sure you can't really do that? You don't have the guts, the courage to do that. Stick with what you know. And my sage on this side, who's always been with me, your sage is that spark that came and chose this body for this human experience. My sage said, no, Susan, that's self-loving. Letting go of those stories, of those beliefs, of the judgment of you is self-loving. And that's why I ask you, are you willing to love yourself? Are you willing to let go of those judgments? Now, it doesn't happen like this. It's ongoing, right? It took me a while to integrate my insights and realize how the love that I had, or lack of it for myself, was directly responsible for me, for every feeling that I had, whether it was unfulfilling or filling, draining or nurturing, happy or not. And so many years later, again, after my deep transformational work that I've been doing, for the last, I would say, 40 years, right? And facilitating programs and coaching for the last 14, what I found is my own definition of self-love, is what we each have to find. For myself, I believed that feeling of self-love had to come from other people. And now I know better. Now I know it's just a feeling. And for me, self-love is a practice. It's a practice of choosing myself, putting myself first when I can, as in, oh, does this work for the betterment of all, not just for me, because we don't live alone, right? Being compassionate with myself. Self-love is also about choosing things and people and situations, conditions that are good for me, that feel right, that serve me and what I'm asking to serve and who I'm asking to serve. Self-love is an ongoing conscious choice. So when I started to practice choosing consciously myself over the damaging situations, the judgments again, right? Judgments are damaging. Over unfulfilling relationships and friendships, damaging, right? It dramatically changed how I was in the world, and I didn't have to answer to anyone. I mean, recently, I guess about 5 years ago, I walked away from a modality I was very involved in without having to answer to anyone. It's just asking the questions that I'm going to be showing you, right? Does this add to my life and living? Does this have me loving myself? Because everything you be and do, whether it's the food you put in your body, the friendships you have, the work that you do in the world, Are you loving yourself in that position? Right? So, one of the questions that people have been asking me, I've been looking at the polls, and thank you for responding, is, Susan, what do I need to practice in self-love? So here's a few examples that I use in my own life. Write this one down, start by choosing for you. Seems obvious, but start by choosing for you. I realized, you know what, I've always had choice. That's what made me different. I always had choice, and trying to fit into this reality or to other people's realities or what other people said I should be and do, I gave up my choice of loving me first, right? Whatever that is, give it up. Blame, shame, regret. Empowered choices are those that aligned with who you came here to be and do. Stop trying to please other people. Stop accommodating people in order to get their attention and doing things that don't bring you pleasure. When you start loving yourself more, when you're willing to love yourself more, you too will realize your wants, needs, and desires are important, and you have the choice to honor them. Second, let go of seeking approval. That's right. We're often born as heat-seeking approval missiles. We'll go to anybody that will approve of us. So again, we can get fed and clothed, and that entrainment, that judgment keeps on going with us until we turn around and say, wow, is this true for me? Does this work for me? So that was one of the most liberating things that I discovered. As I loved and respected myself more, honored my word more, I stopped worrying about how much others liked or approved of me. I stopped doing things to be liked, right? Stopped being a people pleaser. This created a huge space for me to be more authentic, less defensive, and more genuine in what I was choosing for me, for myself, for those around me. Because remember, we don't live alone. We're that little pebble in the pond that creates ripples. The more you choose loving you, the more that energy goes out into the world and shifts and changes everything you be and do, and everyone you come in contact with, and everyone you pull into your energetic field. Remember the law of attraction. Who you be, the energy of what you're being will attract that like meets like. So when you have your own approval and acceptance, you start caring less about other people's opinions of you and living a life that's aligned with your values, with who you came here to be. The last part is start to make conscious and courageous choices, right? Start to make conscious and courageous choices. I gave up what was draining me, as I've done over the years. I've fallen in love with me again, right? I stopped filling my days with meetings and I would say relationships and outings that actually didn't contribute to me. Instead, I started doing more things I love, like swimming and yoga and writing and walking in the woods and watching transformational movies and listening to transformational podcasts and meditating and just being with me. When you reconnect with yourself deeply, what I found is when I reconnected to myself deeply, I started spending time in my own company, leaning into what brought me joy, instead of spending time in my company deciding that I was just alone and everybody else was happy. Right? And each time I discovered more about myself, it's just a baby step into what else is possible. So you too will find when you become more loving towards yourself, you'll start becoming more comfortable being in your own company. Right? You won't choose your company as a last resort. You'll choose your company first and see what else aligns with the joys, with what you're creating, with your life and living. So as I spent more time with myself, I deepened my connection to myself, and other information started coming in. As you feel more secure with yourself as a person, you tap into your true inner being and you start to fall in love with you again because you're believing in yourself and you're trusting more in yourself. And when you deepen your connection with yourself through self-love, you'll connect on a deeper level with others too. And as your relationship with yourself improves, you're going to find all your other relationships grow as well. So recap. How do you start loving yourself more? You start choosing yourself daily and doing what feels right for you. How do you do that? Introduce a daily practice of checking in with yourself every time you need to make a decision or a choice. What would feel loving in this situation? That's a great question to ask. What would feel loving to me in this situation? That's honor and respect for yourself. Once you have that answer, then I'm going to give you 4 powerful questions. Does this feel right for me? Does this feel right for me? Right? Does it feel light? Does it feel right? Will it serve me? Will it serve me in who you're asking to be in the world and what you're asking to do? Does this serve me? Being in a relationship with this person. Meaning, like recently I had a strategy call with somebody who told me they've given up everything to be with somebody else, and that person left them and now they're on their own. Well, here's some questions. If they had them, perhaps they wouldn't have been in that situation. How does being with this person serve me? Does it align with who I'm asking to be for me? And will this make me feel energized, as in the ripple of energy that keeps on creating, that keeps on creating? Again, we're not here alone. So these questions will help you honor yourself and your need to stay true and loving with you. Now, there's a whole much more I'd love to say, right, on this. Keeping it short, keeping it sweet, but I'll leave it for my newest free masterclass that I've created for you. Yes, it's true. I promised you another surprise this February 28th, Putting Yourself First. SusanLazarHart.com/masterclass. We're going to dive deeper into loving yourself first, because here's the deal. Loving yourself and putting yourself first go hand in hand. And I'm going to be giving you some juicy nuggets on how to create a life you love by being willing to put yourself first. And I know you've got lots of questions on that one, as in, how do I do that? Join me, SusanLazarHart.com/masterclass for our brand new free masterclass, February 28th, in Putting Yourself First. Rebecca says, such a fun topic as I have the data myself. Yay! Awesome, awesome, awesome. Yay. If you have any questions, I always check in here. Pop in #replay and pop in your questions. And if you have questions you want me to be covering on the Putting Yourself First, hi Ignash, SusanLazarHart.com/masterclass. When you register, you'll be getting a couple of emails from me. Pop in your questions there as well of what you'd like me to cover, or put them right here on our brilliant Facebook. So I'm so excited and glad to be back with all of you. Have an amazing day, and review these topics. Review the questions that I put in here. There's a lot here for you. And once you start letting go of the judge over here on the shoulder and start listening to the sage over here, it's amazing what's going to be changing for you, I promise you. And again, I'm going to go deeper into this one in my brand new free masterclass, Putting Yourself First, SusanLazarHart.com/masterclass. I love it. All right. Live boldly. Live boldly. Love greatly. Love greatly. That means love you greatly. And be that fearless leader you came here to be, because the world needs more of you and your special sauce and what you came here to be and do, not less. Have an amazing day. Bye-bye.